start going. All right, so that's good.
What are these little percentages I see in the Riverside app?
So um, those are the hold on. So that is the upload. So that is the data from your phone that's being uploaded to Riverside for
Okay.
the recording.
So right
Um,
now you're at 91%. I'm at 83%. I don't like that you're ahead of me. What can I do? Oh, wait a minute. I'm at 99. You're at 85. So I'm in the lead and left you in the dust. Oh, I like this app. All right. Obviously, I am the superior podcaster. My numbers are higher than yours.
yeah, I am
Why
working.
are we all arguing over what social media
So loud. I am working off of 1 gigabit at home.
What was that audio?
That was TikTok. That was
Okay.
that was
I
chiming
didn't
in.
know if that was your wife chiming in.
No, not this early. Not this early. No, let's see. She will probably sleep till 8 or 9 and then
All
find
right, buddy. Let's get us started. Get us
yeah.
to your smooth AM voice. Let's get us cracking.
All right. I gotta do one thing.
You're
Look,
just not feeling it today.
no, and again, it's because of the utter just destruction downstairs.
Yeah.
You know. All right, welcome everybody to the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. Bill Kimler here. I am Barrett Gruber. Welcome, Bill. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Good, good. Yeah, I experienced some of that. I uh, I I look. We're just gonna jump into it. Um, the inauguration was yesterday,
Was it?
and yeah,
I have no idea.
I helped with some of the Nielsen readings on that one.
Ah,
The the Gruber television was on with the inauguration, and I'm a little taken back by some of the things I saw at the post inauguration party over at the arena in Washington D.C. Did you see any of this?
no, I did not. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day,
Yeah,
and my entire day practically was tied up in various events. Some events I even spoke at. And so it was a wonderful day. And it was also kind of cool because I noticed, at least here in Greenwood, many of the flags were still at half mast throughout the entire day,
yeah. Did I?
believe it or not.
So the that's I guess that's a question I have because I saw a tweet. I saw a notification from the governor. I say a tweet. I think tweet is just generic to everything now. But the governor saying that the flags would be at full staff for the inauguration, which seems odd because when the flags were lowered for President Carter, that's a federal thing. That's not a state thing. The states, that has no impact on the states. The governors can issue their own proclamations on flags and staffs, but uh, you know the, the fact that the governor made a point to have his office send out a message across social media here in South Carolina to tell people to raise their flags. Like I've seen proclamations to lower them, but I've never seen proclamations to raise them. So that was odd and a waste of energy, maybe.
Yeah, well, the fact that yesterday was a federal holiday meant that a lot of the federal institutions, even if they wanted to obey the governor's dictate, couldn't because they were closed. So the post office was still, flying at half, and the city hall even was flying at half because it's a holiday. Employees weren't there.
Mike Johnson's staff, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's staff, said that while the proclamation he had ordered that the flags be raised to full staff, um, it they could not raise all of the flags yesterday morning for the inauguration because the ropes were frozen.
Uh, it's funny.
Hell
So,
froze
so
over
no, I
yesterday.
actually, I did not watch any of the events. I actually had nothing but positive experiences talking about the legacy of MLK. various events at churches throughout the area, a lot of positive messaging, a lot of reflecting, some great speakers from all spectrums about the legacy. While there was some sort of inauguration going on, you wouldn't know it. And it actually was very nice. And I wake up today refreshed as ever. Yeah, I've seen the news. I've seen the Musk salute, and I've seen some of the quotes, and then I've seen his executive orders, basically outlawing the sun, things like that, where it's just ridiculous statement after statement. So no, I'm in a good mental space, and I see you are frazzled. So why don't you catch me up on all that I missed?
Well, let's see. I think one of the ones. I think one of the ones that I was honestly the most disturbed was this idea that he had to create or write. They had an executive order to basically set that the policy of his administration was that there are only two genders, and ultimately it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. There's in reading what an executive order such as that to say that this administration only recognizes two genders, um, there's no there's actually no weight to it. It doesn't carry forth any process. There's nothing that occurs because Donald Trump only recognizes two genders. But some of what I recognize from friends on social media, that are either LGBTQ plus, or friends that are or just people in general associated with that community, or that are trans, or that have children that are trans. And by children, I don't mean like 5-year olds. I mean like teenagers over the age of 16, that are still children to them. Um, that had almost it was just a ripple effect across the community. And
They're
uh
an easy target that makes bullies feel good about themselves to pick
right.
on. You take a look at Nancy Mace, who's spearheading that charge, and you can see she's angling to be the uh, genital inspector general for the Trump administration, where she wants to put inspectors at each bathroom just to check people's junk to see if they're allowed to go in there. How this has become a focus of an administration, a focus of leadership like a congresswoman, how this is helping prices of groceries remains to be seen. None of that actually matters anymore. Did you notice that? I mean, Trump's come out of the gate saying, yeah, I don't think I can deal with prices, and people being polled. The majority of Americans don't expect him to have any impact on prices in the first year, which is a rational viewpoint. But the entire campaign and Biden's loss was on the premise that the economy is bad, prices are too high, we're going to vote this guy in and he'll fix it on day one. Now it no longer matters because we knew it never mattered to begin with.
And yeah, it's I'm having trouble with the words just because of the morning. But it doesn't seem imaginable that the people that voted for him, with this claiming that he was going to do all these things for the economy, for all these things for the pricing and things like that, that now that's not their focus anymore, because they never believed that was going to happen. So what was it? Is it just pure, I don't want to see a woman president. I don't want to see a black woman president. I don't want to see Asian woman president. Like, is that ultimately what it was for a lot of these people that didn't turn out to vote, or that didn't vote for Harris? They voted for Trump. Is it ultimately that we're just a racist, misogynistic country that can't handle that? Because I
Okay, next subject.
yeah, fair
I
enough.
mean,
All right, that's
got it,
true.
nailed it.
I guess, yeah. So Elon Musk threw up a Yahtzee salute 3 times, three or more times. The cameras cut away after the second one, that I saw.
And
Uh,
it wasn't even close to being disputable. I
no,
mean, you've seen some still images where maybe somebody's just waving to someone in the audience, and then there's a claim that it's a Yahtzee salute. This was full video. I mean, you put it side by side with film clips from the 30s and early 40s Germany. there would be no distinction. And you know what, Barrett? They don't care. They don't care.
No,
Never have.
I think one of the things over the next 4 years is, and I'm going to try and do more like you and not focus on just the dumb shit that spews out of Donald Trump's mouth or the people that are in his atmosphere. Um, I think that I'm not going to focus on that. It's going to have to be on uh, it's going to have to be on the actual things that he does. Executive orders, like the necessity to have an executive order yesterday that proclaimed that on January 20th, following an election, that the inauguration will always have flags at full staff. Like that is such a niche, very specific situation. And now Donald Trump uh, had his staff write an executive order to make sure that no president ever would have to
Right. And the
experience.
great irony is that on January 19th of 2020, I was going to be 2029,
2029. Yeah.
right? Donald Trump's going to pass away. He's going to die the day before the inauguration, and a Democratic president's going to look at that executive order and go, "Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, thanks, buddy. Let's fly
He
these flags at extra full staff. Here
yeah.
we go."
Yeah, he basically set it up so that he could now experience the actual shock and embarrassment. I mean, what difference does it make to
Yeah,
him
and of course,
then?
because
Because
everybody, all the Trump minions are going to ask for decency and, please, why won't you lower it to half staff in honor of this president? They're going to change their tune almost as quickly as they change their underwear. I mean, it's so predictable. It's not even funny. Now, what I'm more worried about with those executive orders is not the dumb things like that. There are two that I saw that were three maybe that were extraordinarily concerning. One, the fact that he's just released into the wild over 1,000 violent offenders, and
1,600.
and they don't seem to care, right? It's like, okay, if you're a black man and you rioted in a city street of Chicago or Charleston or anywhere else in the country, it's lock them up, throw away the key. But if you're a white man rioting on behalf of Trump at his direction, you get a full pardon,
Yep.
right? I, and then there's all this outrage over the preemptive pardons that Biden gave to people that were not accused of, charged with anything, convicted, let alone convicted. He issues those pardons, and on my Facebook feed, there's outrage. I knew he was corrupt, yada yada yada. But then you look at Trump's first act was to release 1,600 violent criminals. Uh, I don't get it, but that was one. The other one that I think is even more concerning than that is withdrawing from the World Health Organization,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't know why. Because
No, I know why. Because at any moment we are, and for you, I don't know, Christian scientists that don't believe that research into medicine is necessary. Um, we are literally seconds away from the potential of some bacteria or some virus crossing over from a mammal to a bird, or from a bird to a mammal into our livestock, and then someone consuming some meat somewhere. We're constantly on the verge of that. And the fact that the World Health Organization is basically the front line in countries around the world, China, Africa, places in countries in Africa, that we are seconds away from the next pandemic that will be worse than COVID. And to pull us out of the World Health Organization, to no longer have the funds that the United States gives to that organization in order to keep them up on all the technology they need. Just recently, they within the last 3 years, the World Health Organization moved into using some artificial intelligence to literally map out how different bacteria and different viruses that they find, to figure out how they would affect the however many potential differences that it would take in order for it to affect humans. And they use that information to build uh, vaccine I guess, formulas that would potentially fight against a virus that got into our system. And now it's like, whatever, we're not worried about that. Like, it's almost as if it's almost in my in the darkest timeline, it's almost as if they're this administration is looking for just a mass ejection of human beings from the country. Like, you know, a virus, the COVID virus, that if it didn't get any attention from us except just the death that it caused, I think they said that we probably would have lost about 15 to 20% of our population, because the other percentage was likely healthy enough to survive it and eventually create their own antibodies to it. But
Do you think that Trump was just he's still feeling kind of embarrassed by the COVID pandemic and he's looking for scapegoats to blame, like the WHO, because he's not capable of addressing it from a scientific perspective. All he had to address COVID was a messaging, suppression of facts, an injection of alternate facts, a blame of China, naming it the Chinese flu or the Kung flu or whatever racist term he wanted to use. The fact that the treatments that he promoted came off of Reddit rather than from a lab. So he's just looking for a scapegoat because that COVID hurt him on that first election or his second election, and he wants to blame somebody. So he's going to blame the WHO. But you're right; they're discovering these new diseases all the time. In fact, I was just reading an article today. I'll be sharing it later. That researchers out in some deep area of Africa discovered a transmission of a disease that has an 88% transmission rate and is highly fatal. And they found it in human beings already, and they're scrambling to contain it. All it takes is one sneeze on an international flight, and now it's our problem.
I I
And
was
these guys aren't equipped to handle it.
I was watching a YouTube. I don't know how we got onto it, but there are people that are selling their homes and selling all of their property, and basically taking and packing themselves up with clothes, and they live on cruise ships. They buy a cruise ship, and the whole time I'm watching this, of course,
I mean, is this
it was
real or
it was a YouTube series. Like these
is it
people are
fiction?
making, yeah, they're
Is it a
documenting,
documentary or is it
yeah,
fiction?
it's documentary type. I mean, it's basically people documenting themselves living on cruise ships, and I'm watching it, and of course, like, uh, my wife is watching it, and she says, "Isn't that fascinating that people do this?" And I was like, "They're gonna get stuck on a boat with a bunch of
Well, I
dying
don't get it.
people."
I don't understand the mechanics. So if you're on a cruise ship, don't you have to have a crew to work the ship,
Oh,
maintain the
no,
ship,
the
serve the people?
the cruise it's cruising. You're on a cruise ship that still
Right.
goes to ports and everything. People, but people can buy their own cabin and
Right.
then
But
live
then
on the
that means
cruise
people
ship.
are still going off and coming on, and you're
Yeah,
not isolated from the world. You're
correct.
you're still susceptible to transmission. So it seems like the whole purpose is moot.
Yeah. So, but,
Maybe it's just not well thought out.
well, I don't think they're trying to avoid anything besides just paying taxes on property in the in the United States.
Okay,
They're
I
not from
get it.
Florida or Pennsylvania or any of these other states that don't have property tax. No, but the idea is basically that they live their lives out on a cruise ship. They get up in the morning, they go to the one of the decks, they set up their laptop, they do their work for the day, and then they eat at the buffet. But the whole point is that I one of the things that I'm the most uncomfortable with is that when COVID hit, we had cruise ships that were stranded just off the coast because Trump's administration wouldn't allow for those people to come in and dock, so that the CDC could, they could have some earlier access to the virus, and potentially have that situation taken care of. But people, I mean, hundreds of people just died in their cabins or on the deck of these cruise ships because they were completely pushed away and sealed off, and so that's what ran through my head as I'm watching this documentary. I'm like, I don't want to die
Uh,
on a cruise ship.
I thought you were
I don't
going
know.
down the path that they were on cruise ships permanently so they wouldn't have to interact with society.
No, no. In fact, they want to
Gotcha.
interact. They are trying to experience the parts of the world that they never had, uh, by being on these cruise ships that
That's
travel.
not anything that ever interested me. I've traveled the country from one corner to the other,
Yeah.
but I have never been to Europe. I've never been to Asia, overseas, and I've never had a strong desire to do so. How about you?
So I have been overseas several times. When I was 13 in Boy Scouts, the week before we went to summer camp, we actually went to Hong Kong for a week because and interesting part, my best friend throughout grade school and high school was a guy named Adam Marks, and his father was the director of Asian diseases for the CDC out of Atlanta. So every year he had to spend 2 or 3 months in Asia. So we went to Hong Kong for
So
now.
you
This
just went
was
as a friend of the
I
family
just went
and
as a
got
friend
to
of the
hang out?
family. Yeah.
Neat.
And it was yeah,
Did
it
you bring
was
back any diseases from your trip? Did you pick up any as souvenirs?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Everyone around me seems fine. So but it was a unique experience. And but I've been to Mexico, I've been to Ireland. There's a lot of places that I would really like to go, but the whole, I don't know. I've also traversed the country. I think that they're the only states that I have not been to are Hawaii and Alaska. So
Huh.
in Boy Scouts, I've hit all 48 here, either driving through or at least experiencing them for some reason. Um, and Wyoming and Montana are easily two of the most beautiful, but still should just be one state. That will always be my hang up. South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming should just be Montana. One state. You would get your population up to about 4 million. And then yes, I see the validity of having two senators and maybe two representatives, but that's it. Sorry, that's a hang up. I don't
Yeah,
support
I
having
really think
so
you need
many
to talk to
unpopulated
somebody
states.
about that. It sounds like that weighs on your soul quite a bit. I would suggest maybe some therapy. Could talk you through your feelings on that issue.
I'll bring it up with my therapist on Thursday.
All right.
So yeah, the next 4 years, we'll focus on the actions and try and not focus on the the rhetoric, but it definitely feels surreal. It's not often. Only one other president, Grover Cleveland, has ever been reelected after losing their reelection, and Donald Trump now is the second. So
I
I
think President Biden, when looking at his 4 years, I think he said it the best in his final speech, what he regrets the most. And I think he actually nailed it. He says that he spent those 4 years focused more on policy than politics.
yeah
And I think he's 100% right. I mean, this is a guy that had to pull the nation out of one of the darkest, deepest pits we had ever been in after that first Trump term. Remember, the Trump term had empty shelves in the stores. It had 1,000 people dying every day. It had riots in the streets in the cities. This was all under Trump. And therefore, he has to take the blame for it. You can't give him a pass and not give everybody else a pass for situations out of their control. But we got out of it under Biden's policies. And the acts that were enabled got people back to work. It got industry moving again. It got the nation recovered faster than any nation on the planet. So when he says he didn't focus on the politics, well, that's where Trump does beat him because that's all Trump focuses on. He just is not capable of handling policy other than broad statements. He has no idea whether it's possible, whether it's even necessary. He doesn't care. He's about the showmanship.
yeah
And that's what I really think because Biden was the world's worst showmanship. He gets up to speak in a microphone and 50% of the time you're cringing, 50% of the time he's good. But he just didn't have that showmanship that he needed. And it's a sad state of affairs in our TikTok world that you have short attention spans and you need to address it. Speaking of which, how did you survive TikTok apocalypse?
I didn't know that it had gone offline because I wasn't on it when it did. I did see plenty of people out there talking about how I guess after it came back up. So it went down what about 9:30 Eastern or so.
Saturday night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was 2.5 hours before it would have potentially gone dark because it was supposed to go dark on the night. I guess the 19th was the cutoff, but nobody really understood whether or not that meant that it was going to be cut off at midnight or that it would be cut off at 11:59 on the 19th. Like, what was the how was that going to actually work?
Hey, it
And
was midnight somewhere,
yeah,
so
well, it was midnight 30 somewhere, I guess. But it was you know this the whole thing was a stunt. That's all it was. We had already seen that the CEO of TikTok had already buddied up to Donald Trump.
yeah,
Uh,
you know what? It underscores that Kamala Harris is 100% correct when she said that he is the most easily manipulated world leader. So think about it. The United States government, for good or for bad, President, Congress, Senate, bipartisan, for some reason, all agreed TikTok was a national security threat. I don't personally know the reasons. I don't know that I agree with the reasons, but let's just say they've all come to agreement and they've made it the law of the land.
right.
So what's the CEO of TikTok do? A Chinese organization? Kiss Trump's ass.
Yeah.
That's all that it took. And it took just that to cozy up to him, to slather him with praise. And he has undone what the entire legislative body of the United States federal government thought was a national security threat.
Yeah.
That's how easily manipulated he is. And now just imagine Putin and North Korea and all of them doing the same thing. Trump is very manipulative,
Yeah.
or no, he is easily manipulated.
Yeah, no, it doesn't take much to get under his skin, whether it's positive or negative, and
So it
even
had no impact on you whatsoever.
no, not really.
So
I mean, I pulled it up, it didn't work, and my
didn't you
initial
run to Lemonade as a backup plan?
so I already had Lemonade.
Right, and wasn't that taken down too?
Lemonade, I guess it was taken down. It's
Yeah,
up
because it was part of
now.
Fight Dance.
But I know that if you removed if you removed any of these apps from your phone, they are not yet still available in the app stores.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Zach deleted TikTok off of his phone because he thought it was gone for good, I guess. And now he can't get it back. He can't
Oh,
reinstall it.
so we can sit here and talk about him all we want. He won't be able to see it. Good.
Well, that's the true level of hindsight you get with the All About Nothing podcast. Is
Well, for
is
me, it impacted me because CapCut, which I use daily for video editing for a number of reasons. I love it. It's my favorite video editor is CapCut, and I use the desktop version, not even the mobile app. I use the Windows desktop version,
yeah.
and I go to launch it, and the message pops up saying this has now been deemed illegal in the United States, and you cannot access your application. A switch of VPN, picking another country, I was good to go, but I was annoyed. What you
I
looking at? You seem
oh
distracted. What's going on?
I get messages and pop-ups that are coming up.
Should
Mitch
I be
West.
angry at them or do I laugh at them? What are
Oh,
we talking about?
uh, I wouldn't. Well, first of all, there's no reason to get angry. You know,
Ah,
I think that's one of the things that's one of the messages that I want to, and we'll wrap this up in a second. But that's one of the messages I want to make sure people understand. I am not triggered. I am not angry about Donald Trump. I am disappointed in the direction that the country seems to have wanted to go. I think that there was a big difference in character. And ultimately, what I'm getting from a lot of people now is that uh, apparently I'm getting a text message says that Vance even apparently threw a Yahtzee salute at some point. I haven't seen that video. I'll have to see if that's accurate. But I'm not angry. I'm not triggered. I'm not even kind of upset. It's disappointing to see that the country decided that the direction they wanted to go was not in a direction of progress, a direction of uh, moral values. It was a direction of how can we offset the traditions and the norms, and how can we have the ultimate reactor, which is what Donald Trump is. Everything is a knee jerk reaction. Everything is, everything is personal to him. You know, I do. somebody asked me, he said, "Well, are you ever are you concerned at all that with the things that you all say on the podcast about him? Are you concerned he'd come after you?" I said, "I don't think we're important enough for him to come after us for anything. His attorney general is, basic white girl." And I think that the likelihood is that we fly under the radar. Now, if we don't, then and for some reason we say something that triggers his administration, then whatever. If we go to jail for it, then we go to jail for it, or we
Hey,
skip
I'll join
country
the
or
freedom
whatever.
fighter force with you. Don't you worry. Now, I'll take a different of view. I am not going to take advice or comments from people who spent the last 4 years being angry all the time.
All the
And
time.
they're going to talk to me and say, why are you angry? Why are you so easily triggered? And meanwhile, they're out there just tilting at windmills over every little thing while the stock market increases, the country's GDP increases, manufacturing increases, job growth increases, everything about the country is heading in the right direction, and they're still going to be mad. And they were mad for 4 straight years. They're not going to lecture me on how I should feel. F them. I'm going to go ahead and be mad. I'm just going to be mad over things that are substantial.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad over his stupid renaming the Gulf executive order. F that. That's dumb. That has no impact on you or me. It's just stupid theatrics. But I am going to be mad that he pulled out of the World Health Organization, because F that guy. If there's a pandemic that sweeps our nation and the WHO decides to withhold a vaccine or a test because the United States was not a member, it's all on him. And it's on the people that put him into power.
Yeah.
Did he run on a platform? Maybe I missed it. Did he say on day one, I'm going to withdraw from the World Health Organization? Was that part of his campaign?
No.
So why
No.
is he doing that on day one? And why aren't
It's
people objecting to it? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be angry. I'm going to go be mad and comment all you want. Your opinions mean nothing to me, and it's going to be a hard 4 years, and I feel like I'm going to be fighting it. And no, they're not going to come after me. I don't care. I don't care if I'm under the radar, over the radar, sitting on a radar, whatever. Have at it if you feel strong enough.
yeah. It's disappointing.
And Barrett's home address is 152
Wow, that was
Gruber
close.
Street.
Nailed it.
Come at us.
Yeah, I just like I said, we'll wrap this up, but I'm ultimately I'm disappointed in the quality of some of the people that in almost all the people I know that voted for Donald Trump and have this mentality that Donald Trump was going to save this country. And I can't ever get a good definition of what it is they wanted to save it from, except that we have to save it from the liberals, we have to save it from the Democrats, we have to save it. And it's like those are very obscure ideas. It's not like I can't come on here and say we're going to vote for so and so for president because we have to save it from the conservatives and save it from the Republicans. But I will say we do have to save it from the maggots. That is
Yeah.
ultimately who this
Let's
country
even just
needs to be
narrow it
saved.
down that we need to save it from those that like to do Yahtzee salutes. All right, can we at least agree on that? Is there any common ground we could have with these people, or are they okay with that too?
You know what? Ultimately, I think that's the first question we'll ask, because we've got another 1,000 some odd days of this. That is the question we will ask.
I don't think we have 1,000 some days. I know you're trying to wrap up, but look at the guy. You really think he's going to last this term? He is the oldest human being to be inaugurated as president of this country.
Zach and I counted. He nodded off 13 times during his own inauguration. His eyes, and not like not like a blink. It was, which is great for radio. Uh, but he nodded off 13 times. We saw him close his eyes for more than a second or more than 2 seconds during his own inauguration. This is a man who is physically unfit. Yeah, no, Elon Musk out there throwing out Yahtzee salutes is basically in line with where his family comes from.
I feel very bad for the manufacturers of the Yahtzee game. It's like I almost want to issue an apology because I love that game. Yahtzee was a favorite growing up, and now we have to use them as a euphemism for something else.
Yeah,
Otherwise, this video would get taken down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
apologies in advance to the fine people of Milton Bradley. I assume they're the ones that own Yahtzee. Maybe it's Hasbro. Who knows? Whoever owns Yahtzee, we apologize. You're a fine game and wholesome for the whole family. And we encourage families to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. This has been the All About Nothing podcast daily show, kind of daily show. Want to remind everybody to check out the episodes of the All About Nothing podcast. They come out every week on Mondays. This week, Zach and I discussed a lot of things leading up to the inauguration and some of the issues that we thought were going to be important, which turned into not.
Do we need to bring up your quote about Matt Gaetz?
Wi-
The word for word quote that I've got a sound clip for. It's going to be my ringtone whenever you call me.
So it was me that said it.
Word for word, exactly as I texted it to you. And it was the greatest quote. I had to pause it, replay it, and I've even clipped it so that if you call me, that's going to be the clip that plays on my phone. It was wonderful.
What was
So anyhow, I won't give it away. You
okay.
have to listen to this last episode of the All About Nothing podcast. It is worthwhile, and you'll hear it when you hear it, and you'll know it.
Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, thank you, Bill Kimler, for being on with me again on another Tuesday morning. The podcast that he is on is Black, White,
Sure.
and Blue in the South. He's
And go
wearing an
Bird.
Eagles shirt. So we're looking at potential NFC Championship with the Eagles coming up soon, right?
Potential. Like, are you saying there's a chance it may not happen? Or what do you know? Well, you got some secret inside info I'm unaware of. I'm planning to plop my ass down on the recliner on Sunday and watching it. I don't know
Yeah.
what this potential is.
We'll see how it plays out. I'm not. I'm rooting for the Eagles because they're a bird. So
Good.
then the Falcons beat the Eagles. So that's so fly Eagle fly, fly Eagles fly. But yeah, Black, White, Blue in the South episodes come out on alternating Wednesdays. I guess you all are recording this weekend.
We're recording this weekend, so our next episode will be Wednesday of next week. And I'm
Okay.
working on a very interesting guest that I can't wait. Haven't got confirmation from her yet. She declared interest, but until I've secured her with a date, I won't announce it. So hopefully on Thursday, I'll let you know who our guest will be.
Okay. Well, we'll record. We are recording Wednesday night for an episode that'll come out Monday. We'll be with Donald Brock Jr., who is the coordinator for the Coastal Comic Con, which is going to be taking place in Wilmington, North Carolina, on March 1st and 2nd at the Wilmington Convention Center. It's going to be a blast. Lots of guests. We're going to get some inside information on that tomorrow. So, thank you everybody much for joining us. Thank you, Bill, for being here. And that's going to do it. So, you all be safe, stay kind, and keep your hands to yourself.